You're watching a segment of The Splash, Greater West Bloomfield's news magazine show.
I'm joined this week by Lionel Bradford, the president of the Greening of Detroit. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So first, I'm going to start with a hardball. What is the Greening of Detroit?
Great question. The Greening of Detroit, we are an environmental organization. We've been in the city of Detroit now for 30 years. We were founded in 1989. And it's an organization that really, our goal is to increase the quality of life for those who live, work, and play in Detroit through our tree planting efforts. We were initially started as a reforestation organization. And so in the past, between 1950 and 1990, the city of Detroit lost over 500,000 trees due to disease, neglect, urbanization, you name it. And so our organization was founded to combat that. Since 1989, we planted over 130,000 trees throughout the city. And we do that with the help of volunteers and crews that we employ that come through our adult training programs.
So who people do, the programs you guys have, there's different like levels to them and different groups. And you want to talk about how people and who can join what, like can kids join? Can adults who have worked in environmental positions before, can they join? How does that all work? Well,
I mean, it's first of all, the organization, we're a very multifaceted organization. Okay. So our programming is outstanding. We started planting trees and have advanced to doing so much more. Mm-hmm. And so we have programming for all ages, you name it. And so in our early years, we did a lot of environmental education with Detroit Public Schools, where we help with the science teachers to write curriculum, environmental education curriculum for youth. And so through that program, over 30,000 impressions were made upon youth at the time. And so that was a way for us to really get that elementary school age kids involved in the programming that we do. Our Green Corps Summer Youth Employment Program, through that program, we've employed over 18,000 high schoolers in Detroit. So every summer we got about 100 kids that come on board and work for us. And they go out and maintain the plantings and the green space installations that we've done throughout the years. And so that's the way to target that group. Then we move on to our adult training program, Detroit Conservation Corps. Through that program, we target Detroiters who have barriers to employment. And so this is 18 and up. And we train anywhere from returning citizens to veterans, unemployed, underemployed, you name it. And these folks go through an 8-week training program where we work with a network of employers on the back end to place them into jobs that pay a living decent wage. And so through that program, we've trained just over 700 individuals. And so as you can see, it's a wide range of programming, and we touch all ages.
So what kind of stuff do you guys have like in the city? I know there's the Lafayette Greens and the Walter Myers. You want to talk about some of that stuff?
Sure. There are a number of places that we maintain that we own throughout the city. One you mentioned is Myers Nursery. Myers Nursery is a city-owned nursery. It was a city nursery that was overgrown and really not taken care of back in the 80s. The Greening had a 10-year contract with the city of Detroit to maintain the property, where we really got it up to par, used it as a training ground for our adult training program. And so now we're being very intentional about what we do with that space. We feel like it's the future of the organization because we're growing our own trees. If you think about 130,000 trees that have been planted, those trees had to come from somewhere. And so now we're looking into the future where we can plant our own trees and then we can transplant them out for our own projects.
Starting there at the nursery.
Exactly, and we actually plan to make that a full-fledged nursery operation where we sell trees and those revenues can come back into the organization to help with programming.
And you guys are a nonprofit?
We are a nonprofit. So 501c3, we able to get all our work done by donations. So we ask folks to look and join the cause and donate to us. Also Lafayette Greens. You mentioned Lafayette Greens, which is a property that we manage and own in downtown Detroit. And so here you have all of the gray infrastructure and the tall buildings downtown, but then you have this 1 acre property that's a green space that's loaded with flowers and meadows and fruit. We're growing vegetables there. It's a learning area there for youth. And so it's a very nice space. I would recommend anyone to come down into Detroit and take a look at Lafayette Greens, be a part of what we're doing there. It's right next door to American Coney Island. So I tell people that all the time, so it's easy to find. But a very, very good space that we have there, and very good programming that we have to go along with the space. So.
Do you have plans to do more spaces like that in the future?
Yes, that's definitely. Since our inception, Detroit has 40,000 square miles of vacant land, and what the greening has done so well over the years is we've been able to take abandoned spaces and blighted spaces and just turn them into healthy green spaces for folks to enjoy. And so one other spot I'd like to mention is the Greening of Detroit Park in honor of Elizabeth Gordon Sachs, who's our founder. We had adopted that park some 20 years ago with the city of Detroit, and that park is on Jefferson. Real nice park, a very good green space for folks to enjoy. The city has put a lot of investment in it over the past couple of years. And so another good space for folks to enjoy that we like to do programming at, and you'll see some of our plantings as well.
With climate change being so prevalent, do you want to talk about why this work is so important, not just for Detroit, but for everybody? Yeah,
well, definitely. I mean, I think that just with planting trees in general, we all know the environmental impact that trees have in terms of cooling spaces, in terms of heat island effect. Also, the savings that you get from planting trees on your property, increased property values, you name it. But then there's also a social and economic impact that comes along with planting trees and doing the work that we do. Right now, I think that we're poised we're working with the Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service, and others to look at the trees that are going to be climate change resistant and really be resilient in terms of what they do in the future to help with climate change. We all know that that's a serious problem that we're facing, and we want to be poised in our work to see how we can combat that.
What kind of trees are those?
There are a number of trees that we're planting right now, and that we're looking at. Some walnuts, some maples, a whole list of trees that we have that we've worked with the Forest Service to establish that, and with the city of Detroit as well. So
awesome. So is there ways, if someone wanted to get involved, how can they get involved with the greening?
Well, I mean, you can come to our website, www.greeningofdetroit.com. That's our website. You can go on social media and find us on all platforms, and there's always volunteer opportunities. We couldn't do the good work that we do if we didn't work with volunteers to get it done. And so since our inception, I can't even count the number of volunteers we work with, but on a given year, we work with about 3,000 volunteers.
Do you have a lot of returning people?
Oh, yes, we do. We get folks to come back year after year after year, work with a lot of community partners. We work with just about every block club and community group, every school in the city just about. So every year our phone is ringing, so folks can get some opportunities to volunteer with us, and we take that in and take it serious, and it's a part of the nature of the greening of Detroit.
And what kind of work will these volunteers likely be doing when they're?
Most folks that come to us, they volunteer in our tree planting, so that's a huge effort for us. As I stated, we planted over 130,000 trees throughout the city. We need a lot of volunteers to do that. We plan to plant another 130 over the next 30 years, and so we have a fall planting season and a spring planting season, and so anybody can get involved with us to plant trees.
You don't need any prior experience?
No experience at all, because we teach you when you get there. We have some special volunteers called citizen foresters, and those are volunteers that actually go through training in terms of how our tree planting model is. And so they help us out when it comes to our weekend plantings.
So once again, thank you for joining me today, and I think what the work you guys are doing is really great.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
So once again, we've been joined by Lionel Bradford from the Greening of Detroit.
Thanks for watching this segment of The Splash. To watch the entire show or other segments, catch us on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. Or look us up online at thesplash.tv and listen to us every week on 89.3 WBLD, the all-new Lakes FM.